Good evening, everyone. Welcome to our webinar. We will begin shortly in about 2 minutes. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us this evening and welcome to Let's Learn About Teaching Strategies Gold webinar. On behalf of Early Learning Coalition and our education team, thank you to all who participated in our previous webinars. And just a reminder that you can access all our recordings of our presented previously webinars in our ELC website. So we would like to start out by introducing ourselves. So first we'll go my wonderful co-presenter, co-worker, and friend, Miss Ida Brar. Hi, Ida.
Hi, Agnes. Thank you for that introduction. Welcome, everyone, to our tonight's webinar. So my name is Ida Brar, and I'm a Quality and Education Coaching Specialist for ELC of Broward County, serving providers, children, and families in Broward. I was born in a small little town called Maya West in Puerto Rico. I have my Bachelor's of Science in Early Childhood Education from Barry University and my Master's of Science in Readings from Florida International University. I'm a class certified observer and MMCI trainer for infant, toddlers, and pre-K. I'm also a TSG assessment system trainer. Woo-hoo. And I'm a certified coach from the University of Florida Lassinger program. I also have worked as a elementary school teacher and a VPK teacher in a preschool. I love to teach. This is my passion. I've been doing it for a long time, and it's my calling, as I say. I love to travel and explore different foods. Hopefully, to get back to traveling, I still explore different foods and cultures. It fascinates me. And I've been in the early childhood education field for over 20 years. So now, with no further ado, my co-presenter, Agnes, take it away.
Thank you, Ida. So my name is Agnieszka Bodhi, and I am also a quality education coaching specialist, serving providers, children, and families here in our broad county. I was also born in small city, but all the way in the eastern hemisphere of our Earth, in Europe, in Poland. I obtained my Master of Science in Education from Świętokrzyska University Academy in Poland. I know you can break your tongue pronouncing those names. I'm also class certified observer, just like my coworker, co-presenter Miss Ida. I am MMCI trainer for infant, toddler, and pre-K. Also TSG assessment system trainer and certified coach from University of Florida Lastinger program. I have also over 20 plus years experience in early childhood education in Poland, a little bit in England, in London, New York, and here in Florida since 2004. I worked previously as a preschool teacher and also as a director. So I know how many responsibilities you are, tackling every day. So I am saluting you. I know how busy you are, so thank you so much for spending that evening with us. I also love traveling, and I miss, so when we can go back to normal after the pandemic, so we can travel again. I love teaching and exploring different cultures and the food, just like my friend Ida. So let's go to our webinar housekeeping. So as you can see on your right hand, you have GoToWebinar control panel. So when you click that orange rectangle with the white arrow, you can either open or close the control panel. When you click on the question triangle on the bottom, you can type any questions you might have or comments you might have throughout this presentation. To download the handouts, which we have for you, 5 great handouts, simply click on the handouts triangle, and then the PDF file will open up for you, and you're going to be able to download all the handouts to your device. So let's talk about the attendancy. So all the ELC trainings are for in-service hours only. Your training certificate will be emailed within 24 hours and sent to the email address you entered when you registered for this webinar. And in order to be marked as attended, you must log in into the computer or download the GoToWebinar app on your smart device, either tablet or your smartphone. Just simply call in without actually viewing this presentation. You're not going to be able to be marked as attended, so you are not going to receive the certificate. So if you can't see the presentation, you just listen in. We can't see you marked as attended. So also, when you registered for this webinar, you had a pre-test of 5 questions to answer, and then after the presentation, when we complete it, you're going to have also 5 questions for post-test and training survey, also 5 questions. So please complete all these informations because we do value your feedback. It's very important to us. And just a little hint that we're going to have some polls throughout this presentation. So you might want to pay attention because those polls are going to have the questions that may be in the post-test. So keep in mind. So let's go over our training agenda for tonight. So welcome and introductions we just completed. We're going to go over training objectives next. We're going to talk about teaching strategies, goal objectives for development and learning. We're going to introduce you to assessment cycle. Teaching strategies goal documentation app. This is a tool that is very convenient for you to use while doing observations in your classroom. So we're going to demonstrate it by showing you a little video clip. Ida will introduce you to different type of documentation you can use in your classroom. We're going to explore and show you the Teaching Strategies Gold website. Ida will also talk about teaching strategies, got checkpoints and online courses, free courses that are very beneficial for you. And then we're going to have, like I mentioned before, polls and some video clips. So let's go over some training objectives for tonight's presentation. We're going to identify the purpose of teaching strategies goal and describe the role it plays in driving instructions. We're going to explain the 4 steps of assessment cycle and how my teaching strategies supports the teachers and children's development and learning during each of those steps. We are going to explain how to use the objectives for development and learning to focus observations and respond with appropriate support for individual and group needs. And we're going to review the TSG website. And today we're going to focus on tabs, assess, and develop. And we're going to review how to document, add documentation, view documentation, and how to level and review the checkpoint process. So what is exactly assessment? We would like you to think of that, and maybe if you can think of another word for assessment, and if you please share that in and type in the chat box. We have with us tonight, joining us, our manager, Ms. Tiffany Bernard. And thank you so much, Ms. Tiffany, for being here with us. So she will be taking care of all questions you might have and type in the question box. And at this time, can you please think of another word for assessment and type quickly in the chat box. And Ms. Tiffany will let us know if there's any suggestion. What is the other word for assessment? What can you think of? So Ms. Tiffany, let us know if we have anything in the chat box yet.
So we do have a few suggestions. There's test, there's evaluation,
Good idea.
There's a shorter word for assessment. There's assess. And there's, like someone said again, evaluation. There's also evaluate, and there's learn about children.
Okay, so these are very good ideas. And so let's talk about it. So there is different understanding of all this terminology when it comes to assessing, evaluating, and screening children. So we're going to focus today in assessment. So when we think about screening, for example, this is a tool that gives us like little snapshot at the time to determine if a child is developing according to their, developmental milestones. So it's just a quick screening to see if they develop right according to the age milestone, right? Evaluation, we use this tool to kind of establish if the child needs any additional help, maybe to see if a child needs specialist, maybe some therapist. So this is the tool that we use to see if the child needs help from a specialist, like I said. But assessment is a process that is ongoing and goes throughout the school year, throughout the day, every day. We observe, we document, we see what we found, how the child's progressing, and then we develop in different activities to help child progress and develop those skills that are needed to move on to next level or to next class. So these are the different tools, and that's what's the differences between them. But thank you so much for sharing with us. So let's see what the NACI says about assessment. Assessment is the process of gathering information about children from several forms of evidence, then organizing and interpreting the information. So that's the definition from NACI, National Association for the Education of Young Children. So thank you again for sharing. So let's go over some assessment terminology. So assessment should be always ongoing and observation based. So like I mentioned before, we have cycles, step by step. We complete the cycle and we continue with another cycle. So it's ongoing and observation based. So we just watching, we're looking. And it's authentic and naturalistic, play based. So it's not that we sit the child down and we just do assessment with them. No, children are playing in natural environment in the classroom or outside, and they play, and we just go around and observe and make ourselves a note. And it's curriculum banded. In this case, teaching strategies have their own curriculum, creative curriculum, and assessments also systematic and developmentally appropriate. And that's we're going to talk about that when we get to the objectives for developmental learning and for different ages and color banners that Ida will talk to us about. So, what is teaching strategies? So, teaching strategies goal is assessment, like I mentioned, system, and it's also known as a TSG, right? Short, TSG, teaching strategies goal. And the areas of development are separated into 10 areas of development and learning. We are working within the 6 areas: social, emotional, physical, language, cognitive, literacy, and mathematics. And teaching strategies goal is authentic, ongoing observational system for assessing children from birth through kindergarten, and it's proven to be valid and reliable by an extensive field of testing. And it helps teachers observe children in the context of everyday experiences, which is an effective way to get to know them well and find out what they know, and what they can do. So what are the purpose of GOLD, Teaching Strategies GOLD Assessment? It's to observe and document children's development and learning over time, support, guide, and inform planning and instructions, identify children who might benefit from special help, screening, or further evaluations, report and communicate with family members and others, collect child outcome information as one part of larger accountability system, and provide reports to administrators and to guide program planning and professional development opportunities. So now we would like to show you a short video straight from the Teaching Strategies headquarters to just show you what they do. So as you could see in this little video clip, Teaching Strategies Gold online teachers provide teachers with many resources. So uses variety of tools to gather and organize meaningful documentation, create developmental profile for each child, help you understand how their observation relate to important objectives for development and learning, determine if child's making progress, recognize children who might benefit from further help and screening and evaluation, and we can generate all kinds of different reports to see how to plan for the children who may fall below. So next, let's talk about what are some requirements for the TSG. So if you're interested in implementing child assessment, specifically this one, teaching strategies goal, these are some requirements to be successful in implementation of that assessment. So we first create the electronic classrooms for children profiles, and then profiles in those classrooms for each child. We complete the 3 free TSG basic courses. They're very beneficial to you and free of charge and in service hours. Then we achieve teaching strategies integral reliability test. And then we enter in quality documentation with appropriate pictures and videos. Then we set preliminary levels to level children where they start, which level according to their age. Then we complete successful checkpoints 3 times a year, fall, winter, and spring. Then we create intentional lesson plans and activities based on the data that we collected in previous checkpoints, and then create small collaborative goals and with our staff. So these are some general TSG requirements for those who are interested in implementation of this assessment tool. So Ida, what time is it?
It's time for a poll. Woohoo!
All right, so it's time for our first poll. So guys, remember that those questions in the poll may be in the post test. So let's pay special attention. So our first poll is, how many steps are in the assessment process? Is it 2, 3, or 4? I'm going to launch the poll and please cast your vote. Everybody is voting. Thank you so much. We have already 66%. Keep them coming. Keep them coming. All righty. They're still coming. Okay. Last chance. Okay, I'm going to close the poll and share the results. If you didn't have a chance to cast your vote, you can type it in the question box or in the chat box. All right, so 58% says there is 4 steps. That's right. The answer is C.
Nice.
Four steps in assessment process. But don't worry if you answer any of the other answers. That's okay, because guess what? Next, we're going to talk about the assessment process and how many steps are there. So the assessment process in teaching strategies go through 4 steps. So the first is observe and collect facts. What does this child know and what is he or she is able to do? So think to yourself as a teacher, what are my children showing me and how can I best capture the evidence? Right? Step number 2, analyze and respond. How does what I'm seeing relate to important objectives for development and learning. How do I scaffold this child's learning? So think to yourself as a teacher, what skills is the child showing me, and how can I respond to support their development? Step number 3, it's evaluate. After you collect all this documentation, you're looking at it, and you think, is this child making progress? How do this child's skills and behaviors compare to those of most children in his or her age group? And as a teacher, think, what information have I gathered and what have I learned about each of the child's development along the progressions? And then step number 4, summarize, plan, and communicate. So after you collecting all the data and then you evaluate it, you summarize and plan for the future. How can I summarize what I know about this child and use it to plan and communicate with others? So as a teacher, think to yourself, what information will I use next to plan and share with families? What do I use in developing future lesson plans? How do I help the children to progress and move on? So these are the 4 steps in the assessment process in teaching strategies goal. And remember, when you're observing in your work as a teacher, you observe young children every day and you watch what they do. So listen to what they say and decide how to respond to them and interact with them. So this process happens so quickly that you might not even be aware how important this is going to help you get to know them better and know what they can do. And so when observing, be intentional and be involved. So let's talk about the structure of TSG. The structure of TSG Gold look as follows. There is 10 different general areas of development and learning, which are the categories. Under that they have objectives, which are marked with number, and then under objectives we have dimensions, which are marked with letter, and then under dimension we have indicators, which are printed in bold, and bullets with examples just to show you kind of what you're looking for. And closer, Ida will explain to us later when she's going to talk to us about widely held expectations. So she's going to show us all this structure of the goal again in the images in the following slides. So on the area of development and learning, let's say mathematics. So mathematics is the big area of development category. And one of the objectives in the mathematics, objective 20, because like I said, objectives are marked with numbers. Objective 20 uses numbers, concept, and operations. And then under that, objective 20 dimension C. So mathematics objective 20C connect numerals with their quantities. And under that we have in bold indicators, identifies numerals to 10 by name and connects each to counted objects. And under that we have bullets that show us examples where we look for. A child says, I put 9 buttons in the 9 box. So this is the examples are just to show us what we're looking for, but that doesn't have to exactly be the same thing. That's just the examples. So this is the structure of teaching strategies goal. And these are the 10 areas of development and learning in teaching strategies gold with their objectives. So as you can see, we'll have social emotional, physical, language, cognitive, literacy, and mathematics. That's the 6 ones that we are observing in our centers. And then we additionally have also science and technology, social studies, and the art. That's up to the providers, individual providers, if they would like to observe children in those areas. And then also for dual language children, we have English language acquisition. So also, if you don't know where those objectives are, this is the Objectives for Development and Learning manual book that some of your centers might already have. And if you don't, you can purchase them on the Teaching Strategies Gold website. This is very important book because all these developmental area with their objectives and dimensions, and color banners, with Ida will talk about this later, are in this book, along with many awesome strategies for each objective. I really encourage you to have that book if you decide to, implement the teaching strategies goal assessment in your center. So next is time for,
Another poll. Yay.
yes, Ida, it's time for another poll. So this time our poll is observation. It says observation should only be done in an elementary school, not in a childcare center. Is it true or false? So cast your vote, and remember, a question might be also in the post test. Wow, 60% voted already. 72. Guys, you are fabulous. Despite a late evening, you really have energy. Thank you for voting. Awesome. Looks like we have really awesome educators in here. Okay, I'm going to close the poll because guess what, Ida? 100% answered that is false.
Yay. Great.
Yeah, it's fabulous. Exactly, that's right. It's false because we want to start from the very early age of children to see how they develop in, if there is any red flags, so we can help them, so we can plan awesome activities to help them move to the next level and develop those skills that they will need in the future. So thank you so much. You guys are amazing. So next, Haida would talk to us about those widely held expectations and those color banners. Why the colors? What is this? What's the progressions? What's widely held expectation? What is this? Haida, talk to us.
Thank you, Agnes. So now we're going to dive into it. So Agnes previously went over the structures of teaching strategies, the dimensions, the objectives, examples, indicator, and so on. Now we're going to dive in a little bit more. So widely held expectations. So from the picture, you see like watercolors. So let's talk about those watercolors and what these colors mean. So you see the first one is red, that's birth to 1 year, and that is our infant classroom. The orange is 1 to 2 year olds, and those are our toddlers. Yellow is 2 to 3 year olds, those are our 2 year olds. Then we have green preschool 3, those are our 3-year-old children. And then we have blue, which is VPK, our 4-year-olds. And then we have purple, which is kindergarten, because we do have some 5-year-olds in our preschools. So what did this all mean? So Teaching Strategies Goal came up with this concept, and it's a progressions that have color bands that show widely held expectations. So according to the classroom that you are assigned to, you're kind of going to be assigned a color band for those children in order to see if they are progressing. So based on research literature, the bands show at the level most children of a particular age or class are likely to be at the beginning and at the end of the program. So you're going to start, finish a whole academic year. Because development and learning are uneven and overlapping, the color bands are also going to be overlapping as well, helping teachers to guide their expectations realistically when they are implementing their lessons and activities. So teachers see the full spectrum of development at once, enabling them to work with any child at any level of development. Isn't that great? So color bands show growth and development for one academic year. So let's break it down even further. So this is the overlapping color band that I just talked about. So overlapping color bands tell us that children develop a skill or behavior at multiple ages or class or grade. So you can see, as I mentioned before, the yellow is our 2 to 3-year-olds, the green is preschool 3, and the blue is our pre-K or VPK classroom. And you see them all at that level 6. There's like a whole combination right there. So let's talk about that. So we have specific time frames when children are going to get skills, and you know that as a teacher. And all our children are not the same. You know, some get a concept quicker and some take a little more time to get it. So when color bands are shorter, for example, the green starts at level 5, if you can see on the screen, it starts at a level 5 and goes to level 6 at the beginning of the year. They are going to be a level 5 because it represents the academic year. That's the starting point, let's say, you know, all these fancy words we use. So it's going to take them the rest of the year to get to level 6, because all those things that Agnes mentioned before, those indicators and some examples that you will see in order to see if that child is using. So this one is use refined wrist and finger movements. This is under the area of physical, and it is objective 7, which demonstrates what? Their fine motor skills. So we need to see that refinement of the wrists and the fingers when the children are writing and drawing and using their fingers, their fine motor skills. So remember, the shorter the color band, the longer it takes the child to get a skill. The longer the color band, the quicker they get the skill. So, and you're not going to get all this right now. Sometimes it sounds like, what? What are we talking about? Baby steps. That's what we're talking about. So when we have color bands that are overlapping, like you see in level 6, we see that the green color band overlaps the blue color band. You see that, right? Normally, what that means that in our research requires children a longer time to get this skill, especially when it comes to writing and drawing and holding a pencil and markers. It takes time for children to learn this skill. So it tells us, because it represents an academic year, the earliest and the latest time that we will typically see that child get that skill. So this is not going to be like tomorrow. It takes time. So on the next slide, we're going to see part of the progression, and that will give you a better idea of how this works. So this is in the manual, and it's also when you decide to use teaching strategies, every teacher will have her own classroom and her own, we call them dashboards, where all her information of her children, and this is there too, a progression of development and learning. So like Agnes said before, this is cognitive, that's the area. And the objective is the number, so it's going to demonstrate positive approach to learning. And the A is how attentive and engaged, that's the dimension that a child may have. So you see it like here. You see not yet, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay? So this we call kind of a fancy word, but it's also a rubric. Remember, like when you were in school and you got the grades of either an A or a B, or hopefully not an F, but you know, sometimes that happens. You are finding level 1 through whatever number, and this depends on the documentation that you are taking for your children in your classroom. So that's why you are going to take multiple documentation to see how engaged or how attentive and engaged that child is. If they're in the art area, outside, even when they're eating lunch and lining up, they're, you know, how engaged and attentive are they throughout the day. So progression tells you where the child will be at a given time, and it helps you guide your instructions throughout the year to get them, you know, to the right. We want them to keep moving forward, not backwards. So we're going to explain more on the next slide. So this one, it follows directions. This has to do with language. Once again, you'll see how they overlap. And these numbers. Let's talk about these numbers. So like I said earlier, the shorter the color band, the longer it takes you, and you're not going to learn this tonight because this takes a while to get the hang of it. But once you know your classroom, like if you're the 2-year-old classroom, you know that some of your children may be in the orange because you see it overlapping, because it starts at 3 and then it goes all the way to number 6. So you see how it overlaps. So it will take that child the entire year to get to that 6 at the end. And they may not get to that 6. They may be at a 5. So it all depends on what you are gathering with the information and observations. So you'll notice some red flags if your child is not moving or progressing. And then what are you going to do? You're going to stop and see and find out what's going on to make them move accordingly. So what we want to use is have the data to be driven towards instruction. And this is, like Agnes mentioned before, this is not only just to see, oh my gosh, this child has a problem. It's also to see my children are on target. I have children that are exceeding and advancing and are doing kindergarten work. You're going to see all these different levels because all the children are not going to be in the same. So knowing where to start, the starting point will help you to know where to go next. So you'll probably notice that the odd numbers don't have any words to it. What's going on there? So we're going to talk about that in the next slide. What's going on? Why don't those have words? Okay, so we're going to talk about when to use the odd numbers. We call them the in-between levels. These are the odd ones, the 1s, the 3, 5, 7, and 9. So we're going to talk about them now. So like I said, they're called in-between. So the in-between levels enabled you to indicate that a child related to the objectives and dimensions, that they're emerging. So when you see all the indicators, and their indicators are in the even numbers, they are the 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, and so on. So those are even. When you see a child doing all of the indicators, let's say on level 2, you're going to look at level 4 and you're going to say, no, they're not there yet. They have to do all that's indicated in that indicator. That's why it's called an indicator. Okay, never mind. So that child is emerging. That child needs support. That child needs more activities in order to get them to the even number, which is the 4. So they're emerging. So what are you doing? You are supporting that child in order for them to accomplish that indicator, depending on the objective or the area that you're looking on. This support may be verbal, visual, pictures, or physical. And when a child is demonstrating one, but not all aspects of the indicator, then that means they're emerging. And that's when you put them at the level 3 or the level 5 or the level 7, depending on your age group and depending on the documentation that you are gathering. So we're going to talk about mice, not real mice, but these little cuties. Aren't they adorable? So we're going to talk about, this is Agnes and I running for our dinner tonight. So multiple, M is for multiple pieces of evidence. You need one more, not one piece, but more than one piece of evidence to know that that child is at the level that you think they are. Either they're in the 4 or the 6, or maybe the 3 or the 5. And you need it throughout the day, different days, and throughout the week. So it's not one piece of evidence is not telling me that that child mastered that skill. So going to the next one, the I means independent of teacher's support. So again, how is that child doing it on their own, or do they need extra support from you? So that's the I. Consistently maintain, you need to see it over and over again. You don't see it once, and we know that as educators, saying that child got the skill, I can move on. They may get it once and they may be very lucky, and then it doesn't happen. And that's where you come in to make it sure that it becomes consistent and they maintain it. And every part of the indicator that we have mentioned before, that bold print on the progression lets you know that that child is at that specific level. But remember, my wonderful educators, we need to know that we have more than one piece of evidence, and that's mice. And I will kind of take a picture of this, and then you'll have Agnes and I there running to use this in your classroom and make sure that you are gathering enough information. If the child's independent, seeing it consistently, and every part of that indicators that we see in the progression. All right, so this is an example, and this is a great example of like emerging and mastering your levels. So remember back in the day when you were trying to learn to ride a tricycle. Some of us will jump into a bicycle. Not I. I was on a tricycle for a long, long time, and I still am in a tricycle, to be honest with you. So let's look at this picture. So when you're learning to ride a bicycle, you're gonna go to a tricycle first because the tricycle gives you a lot of support. It's not gonna tip over. Most tricycles don't tip over on their own. So they gives you a lot of balance, and it gives children the ability to start pedaling, which is very hard to do sometimes. But once they get the hang of it, they're ready, set, go. So they're in the tricycle. That's the beginning. Then they're progressing to the bicycle with the training wheels. So still giving that support and balance that they need, and they're progressing. And then finally, they are refining their skills. The training wheels go off. They have mastered how to ride a bicycle, and ready, set, go. I am going to, ride my way all around the block, and that's how that child will master the skill of riding a bicycle. And that's how most of the times we learn things. Everything takes time. First you are, see where I'm in the beginning. It's time for what, Agnes?
It's time for our next poll, Ida.
Oh, exciting. Okay, so here we go. Hint, hint. Like Agnes said before, I won't say it again. There is only one method of observing the children in a classroom. True or false? And Agnes is going to launch the poll, and let's cast our votes. Is there only one method of observing in a classroom? Pretty good question there. I don't know. Let's see. Well, I know. Okay, I'm going to be quiet so you can concentrate. How are we going, Agnes?
We 50% vote cast.
All right. I think everyone knows the answer to this one.
Mm-hmm. If not, guess what? Next,
We're going to go.
I want to talk about that to us.
Yes, we are. We will talk about it. And if they don't know, they will know in like 2 seconds. So great. All right. So Agnes is going to share. There is only one method of observing the children in the classroom. 95 of you said false. Okay, kiss your brain. The answer is false. There are multiple ways of observing, and I'm going to talk about them next. Okay, so here we go. Okay, so these are some of the types of ways that we can document or observe our children. The first one is anecdotal notes, or sometimes they call them observational notes. So you write what you see. It's like a narrative. The next one is taking pictures. Pictures says a lot, 1,000 words. Videos in the app that Agnes will talk about later. You can videotape, but it's only going to give you a minute to videotape. Work samples of the children, the best thing, their creativity, what they did in the classroom. You take a picture of it too. Or sometimes, you can even ask the parents, hey, can I keep this? Because most parents don't want to keep everything. And then we have voice recording that's also can be used in the TSG app. And it's great. You can get those conversations. And then Teaching Strategies has a streamline, which is called the on-the-spot recording tool. And this gives you kind of like a checklist for physical literacy and math. So those are the different ways that we can document. Awesome. Okay, time for a quote. Here we go. So this quote is from Sir John Lubbock, and what we see depends mainly on what we look for. Just think about that one. This is a real good quote. Okay, you thought about it. So, well, think about this quote. It relates to what you observe in the classroom, don't you think? We are like little explorers and little observers of our children, and they do positive things and sometimes they do negative things. That's the reality, but it all works. So we cannot just eliminate our personal sides of observation. So sometimes we put ourselves too much in the observations because you know your children and you were like, no, I know she can do this, or I know. So, but you need to stop and see, just observe, see what you see, write it down, take a picture. And what we bring to the process is analyzing, like Agnes said in the assessment cycle. But however, we need to be aware of our personal values, bias, beliefs, individuality, and expertise. They shape the way we perceive and interpret what children and families say and do. So in turn, that affects our relationships and decisions. So sometimes you have to put some things in a bubble and blow it away. And we need to be considerate of our families because they may not always agree to how we do things in the classroom, or they have other different. So it's a family, and we just have to. So we make sure that our observation notes reflect the facts rather than assumptions. So and with that being said, we're going to look at the some things that we can use when we're writing our notes. Okay,
And
so
just to add something here, Ida, I remember
yes,
when we were trained for teaching strategies gold, our instructor said, "Just the facts, lady, just the
yes,
facts."
just the facts. What you see, not what you assume the child is doing. Correct, Agnes. Thank you. Yes, so it's just the facts. You're like little, like I said, write what you see. So here is writing effective observation notes. And a great observation note is like if I read it or Agnes reads it, we know exactly what the child did because you wrote just the facts and what the child did and said and so on. So to include objective words when you are doing your observation note. What does the individual child knows? So when you are writing your notes, what does he or she, the child, is doing in that activity? Is the child playing with the buses and the people? Is the child singing songs? What do we know about the skills that the child can do? Do we know that the child knows that the people go on the bus? Do we know that if the child knows the cleanup song? Has the child connected the cleanup song with the action that it goes to, or they just listen to the cleanup song and just keep doing what they're doing? So all these things fall into play. So when we look at the left-hand side of this slide, we're going to talk about words to include, and these are all the ones that we would answer the second question about what a child can do. So description of the gesture, so action, the quotations when they're talking to each other and what they're saying, a description of their facial expressions, the child smiled, and description of their creation when they're in the block area and art area. You can see so many beautiful things that they do. So let's look on the other side. These are some things that we should avoid, these subjective words that sometimes we use without, really intentionally trying to really label a child, but saying a child is shy, or, oh, that child is creative. Because sometimes when children hear that, oh, Agnes is creative, and then they'll sometimes say, I'm not creative, if they know what creative is. So intentions, oh, I know he wants to do this, but he can't. When we're doing evaluations of a children, when we're saying good job or awesome or that's great, give more feedback to them, and then it becomes more of a negative than a positive, because sometimes we use that word too much. Good job, good job, good job, but we really want to know what the good job is. Being judgments like, oh, how beautiful, or "Oh, that was sloppy," or negative, oh, he can't do that, or he won't do that. Remember, our children this is the foundation of them. So it's not that they can't or they won't, but sometimes they're just scared and they don't know, what you want from them or how to do it. So more of like, that's not, you know, you know, kind of knock them down before they even try because they're young. So I would take a screenshot of this slide. This is really a good slide. And then in the next slide, I'm going to talk about how to write these notes. So like Agnes said, and I piggyback off her, factual, be concise notes on what is happening. No more than 2 to 3 sentences in length or 3 to 5 bullets. And I when I did my notes, I like bulleting because bullets are summarizing in a shorter phrase that tells you children's action and what they are able to do. He put the people on the bus, or use the right hand to open the door, and you can bullet. Taking notes on an individual child, and then you can also do a group. So when you do multiple children and they're working in a small group, and that happens a lot in our interest areas or our centers. No more than 5 children in a note, or an individualized, and you have to individualize for each child. So for example, you can write on your note, during story time, ask comprehensive questions of the 3 little pigs. Then you can go back and write what each child was able to do that is separate and different from the group activity that they were in. For example, Jonathan pointed to the author of the book. Katie identified the color purple in the main character, and etc., and things like that. So in the next few slides, I'm going to show you more examples of how we do documentation. So this is a document, a note, an anatomical note for an infant. And when you are doing observations with teaching strategies, when you do it on the app, um, you can automatically put the date, and it should be the date that you observed the child, and the location. So for you can put that in your note as well. So floor during tummy time. This is what this child was doing. So Ethan, when placed on the floor for tummy time, remained on his hands and knees and rocked back and forth. When Ethan turned towards the caregiver, she smiled and said, "Ethan, are you rocking?" Can you just picture that in your head? Just I can just see that. I can just see the child rocking and the caregiver saying that. This is a great note. See, not too long, but you can just see it and picture it. And we're going to go on for toddler. So once again, the date, the location is the block area, and we're going to see what Ashley did. Ashley dumped out animals from container. She selected the lamb and used both hands. Putting the other animals back into the container, she then left the area with the lamb in her hand. Can you see that? And what do toddlers love to do? They love to dump and put back. Usually they just like to dump and not really put back, but I can see, Ashley doing that. Another great note, 2 to 3 sentences, and you can picture it in your mind exactly what that child did. This is our pre-K note. So once again, the date, the location is center time in the writing area. So while writing with Dan, Jacob said, "Dan, you have a lot of words that rhyme with ham, ma'am, can, ran. I'm writing them." Cute little conversation. And again, we're going to go probably into language as the area since they were, and other areas that we're going to connect this documentation to. See, you can see it in your picture in your head of what these children were doing. So on that note, what time is it? Do, 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 do.
It's time for another poll, Ida.
Thank you, Agnes. Okay, so here we go. Observation is an ongoing process conducted by teachers and others to document a child's growth and development. True or false? I think we kind of talked about that earlier, right, Agnes?
Mm-hmm. I think
Yes.
so.
So Agnes launched the poll, so start clicking away. And aren't we having fun tonight? I'm having the ball.
Yes, it's fun. It's fun
It's fun.
working
Yes.
with.
Okay, so how's it going, Agnes?
With 67%, 70.
Oh, okay. We're almost there. Awesome.
Mhm.
You guys are with us. All right.
And guess what?
We're going to see the results. Woohoo! True. Yes. We mentioned that earlier. Yes. It documents a child's growth and development when I was talking about the progression and all that. Yes. Oh, kiss your brain. So now Agnes is going to talk. Thank you for participating in the poll. Agnes is going to talk about that TSG app that I was mentioning. So take it away, Agnes. Thank you.
Thank you, Ida, for this awesome information and introducing us for all these different types of documentation and how to write anecdotal notes. So one additional tool for documentation Teaching Strategies Gold provide to us is this Teaching Strategies Gold documentation app. So first, I'm gonna quick play a video clip for you, and then we get back together again. So as you could see on this little video clip, this user-friendly mobile app enables teachers to easily capture documentation in the moment using a tablet or a smartphone device. So you basically will be able to capture documentation in real time using audio, video, photo, and text notes. You can easily tag documentation with children's name, objectives, and dimensions. You can assign preliminary levels directly from the app and upload them to data to straight to the Teaching Strategies Gold online. So the teachers who have used this Go documentation app have reported that 80% of their documentation can be recorded directly via this app, and the app can also be used to document on the spot observation, which one of the other tools that the teaching strategies provide for us. So this is very cool app, and a lot of teachers love to use it. It's very user friendly and time saving tool for documentation. So let's talk about now how to set the levels. So like Ida told us before about those progressions for development and learning. Each age of a child have different colors. So as you know, uh, Ida told us that one progression color banner take us throughout the whole school year for the skills child to develop or master. So a child might be 4 years old now, but it was 3 on the first day of school, for example, right? So next year we do the same thing. We put the child, if it's 3, we're going to put him in the beginning of the banner. So like here on this image, the 3-year-old is green, so we're going to put him on level 4 because that's when the school year starts, and we'll keep that child over there in that green banner for the whole school year. So first we have to like I just give you example, identify the age level of the child uh, for the first day of school. So let's say he was 3 years old, so we'll be in level 4. It's green. Then we identify the color band. It's green. We want to keep them in the same color for the rest of the school year, unless it's exceeding or falls behind. So then we identify how many mastery levels are on that color band and how many emerging levels. Remember, Ida talked to us about that, or how many mastery levels they're working towards and how many events are at. So we want to start leveling based on the first level of mastery at the beginning of the school year, right? And then at the end, we have to answer the question, is the child developing normally or typically? Is the child on the color band or another color band? So if the 3-year-old, we put them in a green in the beginning of the year, but the child doesn't do that skill and it's back in yellow, or that's give us a red flag, and it shows the child might be delayed, or the child went all the way to level uh, 8, right? It's behind the green, that means the child is advanced. So these are the questions that we have to ask ourselves when we level the children. So next, well, let's go to the Teaching Strategies Go website, and you can take a screenshot of that if you want to. This is the website to go to Teaching Strategies Go. So this is the login page, but I'm going to try to log in as we uh, talk together now. So as you can see, this is the login page in Teaching Strategies Gold. My name is already there, so you're just going to put your username, your password, and you just go into login. I hope it's not going to freeze on me. Okay. Okay, we're there. So basically it's going to take you to the welcome page, and here on the top of the welcome page you're going to see all the tabs that the Teaching Strategies Gold offers you with different options here. So today we're going to focus on assess and develop, and we talk about it a little later. So let's go back to our slides. So like I said, you go into put your username and password. That's how you log in. So let's talk about those tabs. So there is different tabs. It's teach and teach. Today we're only going to, like I said, focus on 2 tabs, the Assess tab and the Develop tab. But we also have Report and Family, and the first one, Teach. So Teach tab, I will go into tell you a little bit about each tab, even though we only going to focus on two of them, Assess and Develop, just so you can have understanding what benefits or those tabs are. So the Teach tab provides planning functionality to help teachers to link the assessment data with instructions. So here you will find weekly and monthly planning calendars and digital curriculum assets if you purchased it, and create your lesson plans. Assess tab, which we're going to go over later, in the Assess tab, you will find everything you need to enter assessment information, the documentation for the children in your classroom. You can view and add documentation and input your checkpoint data. That Ida will talk about this later. In Develop tab, you're going to find online those free online courses in My Courses area, and also the interreliability test for your certification that also Ida will tell us about. And then in the Report tab, when you enter the Report tab, you will see a menu of a variety of available reports based on the collected data to help you inform your teaching, like class profile, individual child report card, development and learning, documentation status, assessment status, snapshot reports, books through kindergarten, all kinds of reports to help you plan for the after the checkpoints, and for administrators too. And then family tab, this area provides family engagement functionality to help you involve family members in the assessment process. The teachers can manage the family members associated with children and invite them to create an account in the family area. You can provide resources and share with child's family, and they will be shared with family members associated with that particular child. And you can explore the two-way communication features with them, explore the family resources library, sharing documentation, weekly plans and reports you can share with families, access the resources library to give them some learning games and activities, and manage family messages, sending each other messages, and also schedule family conferences. So these are the teaching strategies tabs. Okay. So let's focus on that Assess tab. So like I said before, in the Assess tab, we have the options to add documentation, view documentation, do the checkpoint by class, and check the documentation status, to check how much documentation you have and how much we still need. So this is the main Assess tab. When you click more through it, you're going to have more options, and it's going to be more details. So you have different options to add documentation, view documentation, access on the spot observation tool. There is another tool provided by Teaching Strategies Gold for us for physical, mathematics, and literacy areas. You can also do your checkpoints by child or by class. Also check the dates for the checkpoint. So this is more detailed options here in this screen. And then another great tool which is provided by Teaching Strategies for us is the online support portal. So when you go there, you can simply type the question and will give you answers and many different articles about the topic that you're asking for. So you can click on one of them. So I ask, how do I add documentation? So you have some articles. Somehow they show you a video. Sometimes the screenshots with step-by-step how to do this. So this is a great resource if you don't know how to do something. This online support portal is a great resource. And this can be accessed when you going to be in the main page, welcome page. Here on the left corner will be blue dot with a question mark inside. So you can just click on that, or you can go to this address here. You can take a screenshot and just have it for yourself. So this, I encourage you to use this. It's a great tool, and even now, me and Ida, we always using this online support portal. And also, if there's something wrong with the online assessment tool, you can submit the case in here and send it to the technical support for Teaching Strategies Gold, and they will get back to you with help. So now let's watch a little video clip to show you how to enter observation into Teaching Strategies Gold, and then we are regroup again. So these are the steps to add documentation. So just quickly to recap what she was saying, I'm going to show my slide. So we're going to show how to access documentation throughout the Assess tab in here. So first we're going to click on the Assess, Add Documentation. we're going to put the date observed, then we're going to select the children that the documentation is for, then we're going to choose the documentation tab, like as you could see on the video. Then we're going to add the note, the anecdotal note that Ida was teaching us how to do, and then we're going to upload the file if there's any. There's not every documentation going to have a file like she said in the video clip. But you might upload here a picture, artwork, just artifacts, whatever you have. And then here also you have an option. In each screen you're going to see this dot. Here is going to be yellow because assess button is yellow. So it's going to be yellow dot with exclamation mark, and that's where you also find a different add documentation support in resources. So in this particular page, everything you need about the add documentation support you will find here in the exclamation mark. If you go to develop, you're going to have different color of the dot. It's going to be red with the exclamation mark. It's going to tell you everything, the resources and support for develop and each of the tab. And wherever you move, this exclamation mark it will be there. So then after that, we going to go to the step that was not shown in the video. Then after you add the documentation, you go into assign objectives and dimensions, because if you do not do that, then the documentation will be not useful because they're not as shown with dimension and objectives the documentation was for. So don't forget, you click on the assign objectives, then click on the objectives that the documentation observation was for, and then move to another step, which will be a preliminary level, or if that's on later on in the throughout the school year, another level based on the information from the documentation, where the child is at the time, what skills and level. And then you're going to click next or save and close. To view documentation, you're going to go to assess again, and you're going to click the view documentation button, and you're going to see here you can review the documentation, and then you can edit documentation, delete it, share with family if you're using that feature, or print. And then on the other side of the screen, as you can see, you're going to have a quick little summary of the documentation, which child is that for, documentation type, the date observed, what's the notes on, and what are the objectives for that documentation. So next is, wow, Ida, what time is it?
It's time for another poll. I think it's our last poll, Agnes.
I think it's the last poll. Yes, that's right. So our last poll is, how many checkpoints periods are there in teaching strategies called TSG? 1, 2, or 3? And I'm going to launch the poll. Please cast your vote, and remember that question may also be in the pulse test questions. Okay, we have over 50%. And don't worry, if you do not know how many checkpoint periods are there in teaching strategies gold, Ida will tell us next. Okay, so 89% of you said that there is 3 checkpoint periods, and that's the correct answer. And I mentioned that before, so some of you were listening. And don't worry if you answer A or B, that's fine, because guess what? Ida will tell us next about the checkpoints.
Thank you, Agnes. So here we are. We're at the final stretch. So the checkpoint tab gives you access to the tool you need to enter your assessment decisions at the end of each checkpoint period. There's 3 checkpoints periods, and each period has about 3 months in each of the periods. So one of the questions that I saw was how many pieces of documentation minimum do we need? It's all, think of the my screen that I went through. You have 3 months to collect. So remember mice. You have to have multiple pieces of documentations, different day and week. You need to see if they're independent. Consistency. So if you see them, one piece is not enough. Two pieces, probably not either, because you need to see it consistently. So you need to be judge of that you are seeing it multiple times, and then remember those indicators. Hopefully I answered your questions, and now I'll keep going with the checkpoints. So this is where you make your final decision about the level that child is in. To distinguish from the preliminary levels that you selected in the documentation tab that Agnes went through. So you can choose to enter the levels by area, objectives, child, but we recommend you do it by class. It's easier, your entire class shows up according to the area. So the first area will be social emotional, then it's physical, then it's language, cognitive, and so on. Once you click on it and you will see your entire class, you will start checkpointing from there. So we also recommend that you do not wait until the checkpoint date that is due. Do it before, because we are not the only ones. Your center is not the only one working on TSG. So we have three checkpoints periods: fall, winter, spring, and I will show you the dates on the next one. Okay, so here are the checkpoint dates. And as you see, we already went through fall. So fall started August 1st until November 1st. Another thing to make note of is that November 1st, the system automatically changes to winter. That's why you do not wait until November 1st or whatever the date is to finalize, because it will automatically switch you to winter. And as you see from the screen, winter starts November 1st to February 1st, and then spring starts February 1st. So that's why we recommend you know how much documentation you have and have collected. You'll see it when you do the checkpoints as well, and then start finalizing. Do not wait until the last date, because then you will have to switch your screen over to the previous period. And we have gotten phone calls like, oh, Miss Ida, Miss Agnes, I don't know where my documentation is, because you waited till the last day and it already automatically changed it to the next cycle. Make a note of that. Thank you. I can't say that enough. Okay, so now I'm going to talk about the Develop tab, and this is where you can take those great courses. Most of them are free. There are some that are CEUs, and you would have to pay for those, but wherever you see free, you click on it. So some online teaching strategies are we recommend. The first one is Introducing My Teaching Strategies. The next one we recommend is Gold Introduction. And last but not least, Objectives for Development and Learning. And this last one is about 10 hours. The other two are about 2 hours. But right there also you'll get in-service hours when you do this. So we're going to look more and dive into how it looks. So once you go into the Develop tab, this is, you can filter by your age group. As you can see, there's infantile and twos, there's preschool, there's kindergarten, and so on. So you can click and it brings up those courses that you can take pertaining to your age group. The courses are also offered in English and Spanish. So like I said, there you go. Thank you, Vanna. So the first one, like we mentioned before, oh, I just love you, Agnes, is Introducing My Teaching Strategy. So that's the first one you see when you go into that tab. And then the next one is the objective, and you'll see the objective for development and learning. Then you'll see, last but not least, will be on the last icon, will be Gold Introduction. Some of the English and Spanish are right next to each other, and some of them you have to scroll down to find the Spanish one if you want to take this course in Spanish. So like I said, also they offer CEUs, which you can take as well, but you have to pay for that. And then next, after you take all these wonderful courses, talk about that inter-rater reliability. What is that about? So it's like the exam, like, that little certification, and why not? So here you're going to, the inter-rater reliability is found also under the Develop tab. It's on the left-hand side, and then you will see inter-rater reliability, and you're going to click on that, and you will choose the certification pertaining to the class you're assigned to and your age group. So if you are the infant teacher, you're going to take the certification that says infant, toddlers, twos. If you're the threes and pre-K teacher, you're going to take the one that says preschool, pre-K. So once you begin the certification, you'll be assigned 3 random children that you don't know who they are. And what you're going to do in order to pass this certification is you're going to read the documentation that is attached to that child, and you're going to set preliminary levels. I'm going to be honest with you, this took me 2 days to do because you need to read the documentation in order to really figure out what preliminary level that child may be in. So you place the specific level that after you read the documentation, you need to get 80% in each of the areas in order to pass. And you're probably like, what? So let's say you failed one and you're saying to you, I'm not taking this again. You're only going to take the one area you failed. The other ones that you pass will stay, and then you will get another round, as you see, and you're going to do that one because you fail social and emotional. They give you a second round, and then you complete it, and you become reliable, and then you'll be confident about your classroom decisions, and you'll get your certificate, and you can hang it on the wall, and it's amazing. So with that being said, that's the interoperability. We're going to review again briefly that help button. Like Agnes mentioned before, we use it wherever you see that yellow or that question mark, you click on it and it gives you a plethora of information. You can see it in the Assess, you can see it in the Teach tab, in the Develop tab. They're all over the dashboard. And it's a great resource. As we said before, we use it all the time still because we're experts, but sometimes you forget something and you need to find out where it is. So the next thing I'm going to talk about, because we're wrapping it up, is remember to download the handouts by clicking on the handout icon, the little triangle. And we have 5 handouts, and you download them into your device, PDF. And remember, it will take us about, yes, thank you. Love that. It'll take us about 24 hours for you to get your certificate. Okay, and I'm going to briefly show you what these handouts look like, and we really thought about them. So if you're new to teaching strategies, or even kind of, this will be a great one, getting started, goal for our new teachers, diving into it. Put this, put it in a little binder. The next handout is implementing the assessment process, which that's what Agnes talked about earlier. This handout is amazing because what she said is like, boom, right there. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, I will make several copies of that one too. So the next one I'm going to talk about is, this is another one I made multiple copies, and the objectives of development and learning. Agnes and I know some of them like the back of our hand, but sometimes we kind of still, oh, where is that? Is that in literacy? And this sheet will tell you exactly what they are, and the number and the dimension and all that wonderfulness that Agnes talked about earlier. So this is a great sheet to have. The next one is talking about how to use the TSG app. Now, you know this late in the game now because I can't speak. And it tells you instructions on how to download it into your iPhone or your Android phone or in your tablet, and it tells you exactly what to do. And last but not least, how to make your documentation, the best practices on doing documentation. Another great handout. I know I keep saying our handouts are great, but they are, and they'll be helpful for you to start with TSG, which Agnes and I love so much. So with that being said, take it away, Agnes. We're almost at the stretch.
Thank you, Ida, so much for this great information, how to access the Develop tab and take the courses and interoperability. So at the end of our presentation, thank you again for being here with us. And if you have any questions, you want to contact us, here are our email addresses. So you can email us. We'll be happy to respond to your email. Of course, don't forget to follow us in our social media platform, Facebook and Twitter. And here are the addresses for our social media platforms. So don't forget to follow us there because we have a lot of events posted, pictures, resources. So you just want to keep up with us, and we'll be appreciating that. So this is an upcoming webinar. Uh, there's going to be presented by our wonderful coworkers, also ELC Quality and Education Coaching Specialist, Ms. Anna Avalos Atkinson and Natasha Harrise. This is the series of Training the Growing Brain series, supporting relationship and attachment during the early childhood years. Also, if you want to check for upcoming webinars, you can click on the elcbrower.org website, and you go in there under the providers and you can find our training calendar and check for any upcoming events or webinars for upcoming month. So having said that, thank you so much from the bottom of our hearts. I speak for myself and I know from Ida too. We thank you for being the openers of the doors. We want to thank you for your hard work. You're amazing. You put yourself out there in a harm's way in this global pandemic. We really appreciate all you do for the children and families. You're essential and we salute you. We want to wish you happy holidays and healthier, happier, and better new year 2021. So I'm sure Ida wants to add something too. So Ida?
Thank you, Agnes. Yes, just piggybacking on what Agnes says, everyone be safe, have a great holiday and a happy new year, and hopefully 2021 will be better, that we'll be able to see you really face to face. We miss seeing our teachers and the children and interacting with you guys. And thank you for joining us in this evening webinar. I know it can be hard. And if you have any questions that, oh, aha moment, or kind of like, oh, I should have asked, don't hesitate to email Agnes or I, and we will get back to you with an answer regarding this webinar. So take care, be safe. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you, Agnes, and thank you, Tiffany, for being with me this evening. And that's it.
Yes, thank you so much, Ida, for being an awesome co-presenter, friend, and co-worker. Thank you so much to our manager, Early Learning Coalition Manager, Education Team, Ms. Stephanie Bernard, for keeping up with us, supporting us, taking the questions, and taking care of the chat box. We really appreciate every time you joining us. We're going to leave the screen for 2 minutes. So for those who didn't have a chance to upload the handouts yet, so go ahead, go under the handouts and save those handouts in your device. And so again, thank you so much. Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye bye. Time for dinner, Agnes.
Let's go for dinner, Ida.
Let's have some cheese. Bye, everyone. Thank you again.